preliminary objection in terms of the motion paper and the grounds of sale, so that, Mr. Speaker, if you make a determination in my favor, perhaps certain consequential orders could be made. Mr. Speaker, because I did say a week ago that the grounds of the motion are merely ex cathedra. They are not based on reason, fact, or in any law. What you have are ex cathedra matters. But if you now say you are leading evidence, the respondent, these are matters of law. These are matters of law. Please allow. No. I've sought Mr. Speaker's permission. Mr. Speaker has granted me leave. Mr. Speaker has granted me leave. It is my right to speak. Yes, but he should seek Mr. Speaker's attention before. Mr. Speaker, the right of fair hearing is guaranteed in the Constitution. I am saying that I have a preliminary objection. With preliminary objection, I am bringing to the fore upon him moving his motion. However, if he proceeds after moving the motion to lead his evidence, it may be too late. It may be too late, Mr. Speaker, to arrest his motion on the procedural grounds upon which my preliminary objection are grounded. Therefore, grant me leave to proceed with my preliminary objection at this point, because he's going into evidence. He's going into evidence. And he said so in his motion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, please kindly allow him to move the motion. I will give you the opportunity to put across your preliminary objection. So allow him to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I was establishing that the Honorable Ken Ofori Atta has mismanaged the Ghanaian economy and therefore incompetent and not fit for purpose to continue to hold himself as Minister responsible for finance. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'm inviting my colleagues opposite the aisle to join us. Let your vote count. In bidding him farewell and goodbye to save this economy, to save businesses, to save savings and investment. Mr. Speaker, I was on a crate of egg. A crate of egg was sold for 12 cedis, is now 40 cedis. A bag of pure water we sold for 1.5 Ghana cedis is now 10 cedis. Cement we sold for 18 Ghana cedis is now 95 Ghana cedis.
The Ghanaian abroad.
Soya beans we sold for 150 Ghana cedis is now 500 Ghana cedis. A bucket of onions, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minority Leader, honorable members, this is a very serious motion of unspected.
Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I'll take this for table to take note.
I want us to take this matter seriously. The whole world is watching us. We'll definitely do what
KOFI Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
Let's do that with all seriousness. No drama.
KOFI
No
Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian
Please.
and for the
Let's
Ghanaian
listen to
abroad.
each other. Ghanaians are also listening. And so I take this matter seriously because we've gone through a similar situation before in 1999. At that time, it was the late Honorable Justice D.F. Annan who was presiding. So I know what happened during that period because I was here. There are a lot of issues that we have to consider when you are moving such a motion. And he did grant opportunity a lot of opportunity for members to contribute, to even guide him as to what is the right path to do. And he did that. I'm guided by that because that one was a motion calling on the House to simply tell the minister to resign.
Parliament, the Ecoso, and it's Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford, Sumani Babin, Utukwain, and then in the first sitting about Nasi White, no. Na ni nyina mu no se kwadwo libedia ne kwadwo ni din no kra de ben ya de woni kan Ofori Atta obekoso aye finance minister na so nye finance minister no debate no aye hye enti ye ma update no ye beko floor ho ne akohwe on the fringes de ekoso na ye wi a ya sign ama kwan ama wa join ye va WhatsApp calls na wa kire wa dwen on de bekoso e wo ho no nyina. Don't forget say enenso na ye ma me Agradaa ekopie mu e wo court update e was asemi e ho NCC a de asi e wo ho no ye wie ya ye de no so e beto a so abra ye gather some legal brains bi ahwe interpretation a wo mo e de bema e was asemi ho quickly ma mensan enko parliament floor ho bio ye be chemu na afi ya hwe before we be si no dede ni chobo ye koso ene press conferences e di kan koso ene nchemu a aba ne ba bia elidi 20 yensan enko floor ho na yenko hwe de e koso e wo
December 2016 to November 2022, ending with the price of fertilizer, which increased from 75 Ghana cedis to 500 from 2016. So I attend that. But Mr. Speaker, as you have, I take a clue from you, and I'm urging my colleagues opposite that we've been there before, as you've just stated. And Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I'm invoking Article 82 of the 1992 Constitution. This motion is based on Article 82, which provides, and Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I quote, Parliament may, by a resolution supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all the members of Parliament, pass a vote of censure on a Minister of State. 2. A motion for the resolution referred to in Clause 1 of this article shall not be moved in Parliament unless, Mr. Speaker, 2A, 7 days notice has been given of the motion. That, Mr. Speaker, you have helped us to comply with. B, the notice for the motion has been signed by not less than 1/3 of all the members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we've complied with that. And Mr. Speaker, 3, it shall be debated in Parliament within 14 days after the receipt by the Speaker of the notice for the motion. Mr. Speaker, we've been counting and we think that today we are moving the motion. Mr. Speaker, 82(4) provides that a Minister of State in respect of whom a vote of censure is debated under Clause 3 of this article is entitled during the debate. Mr. Speaker, the emphasis is mine. During the debate to be heard in defense. Mr. Speaker, a vote of censure is therefore a formal statement of disapproval or condemnation in the form of a resolution that is adopted by a majority vote and in the context of Article 82 of the Constitution, 2/3 of all MPs voting by a secret ballot. Mr. Speaker, I concede that my gallant men and women here are not up to the 2/3 onerous threshold. That is why my colleagues opposite must let their vote count to save this country and for us to goodbye and exit the Honorable Minister for Finance from doing any further harm to the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, apart from that, inflation. He inherited inflation of 15.4%. Today it's 40.4%. Mr. Speaker, the exchange rate of the cedi, they inherited $1 at 4 Ghana cedis and indicated to all of us that they have the key to arrest the depreciation of the cedi. Today the cedi is falling and suffering from an epileptic fall. They've lost control of the depreciation. $1 is to 15 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, and when you come to unemployment, probably it has increased from 5.53% to 13.9%. Mr. Speaker, so what has he to show? We are told that he did well, and that we are told that we should blame COVID. And did you borrow to support Ukraine? Did you borrow to support Ukraine? Did you borrow to support Ukraine? And you want us to accept that your reckless and irresponsible borrowing, which has led us to where we are. We are in a ditch. Mr. Speaker, the Ghanaian economy is in a ditch. accept it or not, you may have to restructure debt in order to sustain this economy in the next 2-3 years. I heard the President, Mr. Speaker, speak to the nation and say that there will be no haircut. There will be, and there will be a barber of a sort. That barber will be scampi dede barber. It will happen. And it will happen to investment, it will happen to savings, it will happen to bonds that have been issued. Even independent power producers are likely to suffer a restructuring of the debt because how much you owe is colossal. Mr. Speaker, his incompetence manifestly even in this house when he came and said that we should approve for him a Sino-Hydro loan of 600 million US dollars to undertake a number of projects. And Mr. Speaker, he misled this house when he said butter, tomatoes in exchange for pepper. Where is your pepper in exchange of the tomatoes you borrowed? Reality have dawned on them, and therefore Sino-Hydro is due for payment, and you must pay. You are not going to be able to pay with the bauxite which is unprocessed, which is still underground, that you don't know the road or the railway leading to the Sino-Hydro, the bauxite side. Mr. Speaker, it is the Honorable Minister of Finance who came here and said that we should do that for him. Initially, he even wanted $2 billion in barter. So barter, my simple economics, is exchange of goods for goods. Where is your goods? In exchange for the 646 million US dollars you got from the Chinese. A mark of the incompetence. Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana, independent institution, they are required. Part of the external credit facility agreement they inherited from the IMF was to allow for some 10% Bank of Ghana financing in times of emergency. But we work towards 0% financing from the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the figures available to me, I see that probably even for 2022, the Bank of Ghana probably would have spent some 17.5 billion, about 24%, which exceeds the 10% threshold. That's breach of law. And probably for 2021, about 19% breach of law. But what is even more important, what kind of reserve did you inherit? And what is the state of our reserve? Are we able tomorrow to guarantee that economic and essential social and economic services can be provided for the Ghanaian? Today, Mr. Speaker, I use just petroleum prices. When they were in opposition, they were good at it. They were carrying jerrycans and saying that when they come, we will reduce the prices of petroleum products. Have you reduced it? Have you reduced it? Have you reduced it? And said it was some nuisance tax. Mr. Speaker, they benefited from President Mohamed's ESLA, which has raked in some 6.9 billion. Yet again, smart economics, and that's what is failing them. They have collateralized John Dramani Mohamed's ESLA for the next 10 years. So 2020, from today up to 2035, ESLA will be used to be servicing debt. That's what you've done. Yet you said it was a nuisance tax. It's been helpful. At least it's giving you a collateral and a guarantee. Mr. Speaker, so we are on this side. We do not see plausible plans for redemption. When we hear the President speak that by 2020, the GDP will be 55%, we do not know where he will be. We do not know what responsibility will be, the weight of responsibility that will be on him to lead us as a country. Mr. Speaker, we are told the President promised God a national cathedral. No problem with it. Ghana is one of the respected societies in the world when it comes to religious tolerance and religious coexistence. Muslims and Christians alike will respect each other. But when you promise God, honor it, and honor it by respecting process. If you approve 199 million for the construction of a cathedral without parliamentary approval, is that honor to God? Because you haven't followed proper procedure. God wants you to spend in honor, and the church in honor. You don't want a day for somebody to picket around the cathedral and say that public funds was used and justifiable for it. That itself will not help. Mr. Speaker, we refuse to be lured by the false hopes they are creating. They don't provide any indemnity for investors against political and regulatory risk. We've seen the President rehash some of his own words, that property rate will be introduced. You came here in a budget statement of 2022. You said in January, property rate. So, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister for Finance should know that when he comes to read the budget statement, we take him seriously. Things that you haven't been able to do in 6 years, you want us to trust and believe you that you do it in 2 years. We simply don't trust you, and we simply don't believe you, and we simply want you out. So that, where are the men, Mr. Speaker? Where are the men? You said you had men. Mr. Speaker, where? Mr. Speaker, where are the men? Particularly when I hear the deputy leader who wants to reduce this August House to a court of law. This is not court of Ghana. And in the Parliament of Ghana, the Minister of State will be given, and I trust the judgment of Mr. Speaker, to fully defend himself. If he's not able to be here, he has to explain, because 82 provides that adequate notice is given. That has been done to him. And he's a Minister of State, Minister of this Republic, answerable and accountable to this Parliament, and he ought to answer to us as a Parliament. Mr. Speaker, now President, and as you held them today, Mr. Speaker, let your vote count. You were the same people in 1999 who, arising out of the Gulf War, when the economy of Ghana got bad, then led by Dr. Konadu Afraku, Mr. Speaker, this is why you were helping them. I have the answer for purpose of record. So when I see you want to dance differently to the same tune, then it means that you don't know how to dance. Your tune and dance to the same tune must be the same. Mr. Speaker, I quote, 10th November 1999, Dr. K.K. Apraku, member for Offensive North, said, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House, recognizing the serious economic crisis, Speaker, so I borrow his words, and I borrow from Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo. We have a major economic crisis. The President accepts it, the Minister accepts it. Mr. Speaker, I'm reading full. That has resulted from the incompetence and mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy by the Minister of Finance, hereby calls on the Minister of Finance to resign. Unquote. We are doing about the same. Except that, Mr. Speaker, we have gone further to give it the weight of the Constitution, due process. We are invoking Article 82. We know we do not have the numbers, Mr. Speaker. We will rely on you, and we want to rely on the majority, including the leader of government business. That, Mr. Speaker, on this day, Mr. Speaker, you have consulted your constituents. This Parliament has a duty to reflect the aspirations and needs of the Ghanaian people. And the Ghanaian people are reeling under exacerbated hardship and want this Parliament united by consensus to stand with the people of Ghana in bidding farewell and goodbye to the Honorable Ofori Atta. So, Mr. Speaker, when I say where are the men, you have the men. Now you are telling us that he wants to come by a lawyer. Lawyer, when the Honorable Chairman is here, the Honorable Afejo Markin is here, the Honorable KP is here, the Honorable Atta, you are here, and the Minister of Finance will be contemplating some lawyer from somewhere. The center cannot hold, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the center simply cannot hold. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I move that the state of the economy, and Mr. Speaker, I quote, this is what the President himself said, and Mr. Speaker, that must invite my colleagues opposite, that this is not a matter personal to Ken Ofori Atta. Mr. Speaker, persons who borrow money for purposes of their business, $3 million probably in 2019-2020, are made to cough 28-30 million Ghana cedis. Businesses are collapsing, and Mr. Speaker, the President had this to say on 30th October 2022. This was the President's admission, and he must take full responsibility. He said, and I quote, world has been taken aback by the speed with which inflation has eaten away people's income. My own words. So real income has suffered in Ghana for both public and civil servants. Your income can no longer buy the basket of goods and services that a month ago you could afford to buy. It means that you buy less, and children will smile at you when you go home without giving them sufficiently what they need. Mr. Speaker, but I'm quoting the president. Economies big and small have experienced over this year alone the highest rise in cost of living over a generation. Mr. Speaker, this is my emphasis. The highest rise in government borrowing in over 50 years. By who? Ken Ofori Atta. After saying that 120 billion was colossal, he is on record to have borrowed, in the words of the president, more than any other person in the last 50 years. Then he says the highest rise in inflation years, the steepest depreciation in the currency to the US dollars over the last 30 years. The Speaker always shared this joke. Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Economic Management Team. He thought that arresting.
All right, we so oh my Ghana mrashe bedwafie ye besan akọ sisi na afi ye de update ni nyina ama wo se Haruna Idrisu na ni abrede de cheche modi ntia osusu ye bi ekoyi na se ye ma finance minister osifom wo mo kire se o se ene hwanwa se finance minister wo hwe parliament aye wa lawyer afo twetwogro ewo ho anko mu nyina betumi agina mu na mpo so o kire ni nsemu na obehia lawyers a chairman sabonso afenyo marking wo ho wo mu nyina betumi agina mama na eba ne sen ene wakofa lawyer ede no eba begina mu ede ama no na wakeka bi ama no wo parliament ho o say clearly a kire say the center cannot hold kire say ade no agija a oye ho hwea enye eno na ebia ama akwakoba ne sa enti wo mu good debate no so ma mu se bi mu so twro wo bi say how far with the Agradaa court issue Fatima ye wie parliament dey enam say we koso sesia no ye wie ebe ma update the court so court dem ho ene dia koso sesia any developments eba ewo that issue no so eho enti ye be sign akọ parliament ho na yakwa akohwe de ekoso ewo ho no minority church omo nsem Haruna Idrisu wie a majority nso be kire omo nsem ye hwe because omudi kan ye press conferences bi a obi a kire de ntia ogina ba bi a ogina yenim se dom dodo no adikan aba abonten dada aba be kire se one person finance minister no eba ne sen na change aba and now minority ne se one person omo support omo and omo se there be support no omo de ba ne support omo hwehwe na wo mo nchemu omo de ba ne different yensan ko parliament omra.
KOFI Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
Fa the ekoso ewo parliament no ede amao enchekra wasisi kampede how can he say that to us? Oh, okay. Forgive P, is it Avete messenger or Trade by no? Was it during Baz Brandon the finance minister was not sacked? More hypocrites, but Emmanuel do message or the buy no. Was it the MPs who follow their follow should also know that when 2024 comes, we will show them Nana Ya Ousu Jr. Was it this behavior by the majority in parliament is similar to that of Agradaa Wefi Zege Oson ho was a wash minister nimpa as alata seminar Wefi Fatima ena ho. God bless you all, Godfred. Message our they buy no was you people have forgotten money doesn't like noise and I'm reading this ano Prince ama amankwa message and no was a Ghanaians must vote out all MPs come 2024 NPP MPs okay and or sure they buy we say aside 7 partisan interests they are in like children in a whole parliament house
so sad areho se nipa etise ena womo ejina atu edin chiremu bi anase etake decision ede ama oman Ghana Sheriff Nkrumah message ade bae no. Charles Tutu say NDC party are all jokers. At your time, did you people rental atoforcing? I don't get it. Okay, say omobre omoko han atoforcing na. Anyway, enti yen sign ko parliament.
KOFI Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
Yeah, connect it quickly now. Yeah, call Parliament at the air so KOFI, God bless you for the good job you are doing. Don't forget, sir, area. Depending on the decision, never corner, ever more coin na wafre achre wadwen on the course so ewo ho nyina na etumi ama yehunu de wadwen eye ewo ho. Asebra KOFI, if do talk sports too, please. Okay. Oh, sports no. Yeah, position ya ho wakata pa nti edru a mbehunu your skills our sports line, so don't worry. We free na Pozzi Suarez and was but NPP performed better than the NDC. We free Pakano. Was it going back to a confirmed Dumso Bas Brandon World Cup process is not the way forward. I say it's not forward ever, backwards never. Well, how can you compare Bas Brandon to this evil going on? Daniel T. message. I don't know. Was say Ghana needs midterm election. That is the only way Ghana will see development. Nana ya Ousu Junior. Hey, where the American system may be at the Airbaha. Rudolph Ahiakpa was say we cannot afford a 3 square meal anymore. It is not easy at all. Was say a year mira hopa ya frame your mind hine Kwame and akwesi asare say alligator Milton Keynes. Ofi all MPP MPs must be sacked for betraying the finance minister. And Fatima say Kofi, why don't you also try as president? Because we are tired of Nanado and Mahama. Fatima Bacho Pejamin 9 kwatuni patenten kwa ho wie why. Mamentina me wan kwa na heya. Rajwan was we can't wait to see Ofori Atta removed. Whether he'll be removed or not removed, no. Yeah, na yehuno. But before ansana we be kosono, she abra minority neighbor parliament ho. Did da na womo eye pa. Ansana press conferences. We say onko, we say manenko. Yen de there so before ansana debate ano aye den said the air kono. Yen share those ones ni bi emra na yen sign enko floor ho bio.
therefore, because of that, they take a press conference here that the finance minister must go. And based on that, our motion 2 is on the floor. You can't use press conference to sack a finance minister. So because of that, the motion that day, I told you that if they really meant it, and it was a principled decision taken by the majority, they should let us go into the chamber. The motion will be moved. Then we vote either to impeach or not to impeach. But we could not stand here just be making press conference. Today is the day. We are going to walk the talk, and they are quelling back. And as to whether they will quell back or not, is the 1992 Constitution against the MPP Constitution. National interest against party interest. As to whether the MPP will go by the national interest or they will go by the MPP party interest. The day is today, the time is now, and very soon the motion will be moved.
What gives you the indication that this is a national interest? You are saying that it is an NDC.
The Article 36 of the 1992 Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 36, Clause 1 and 2, said that the state shall take steps to make sure that they make decent accommodation, decent jobs, and all those things. So the economic decisions must be taken based on the Constitution. The MPP came out to say that the finance minister has failed in pursuing that. And based on that, Article 82 has given the opportunity, when the finance minister fails to make sure that he's running the economy well, we can go under Article 82 to impeach him. They confirmed the position, the minister has failed, and they don't want him. The majority leader himself said that all the 137 are against, and they said the finance minister must go. If it is true that all the 137 are saying the finance minister must go, let's go and walk the talk. Ghanaians respect us as their leaders. They've given their destiny into our hands, and they expect us to move the nation and bring the economy back on track. If you are confirming the finance minister has failed and he must go, let's go and do it. Then you say president has spoken to you. When the constitution was, when the motion was moved in 1999, the president by then was a member of parliament. He contributed on the motion that was going to impeach Kwame Pipra. Today, we are going to move the same motion to impeach Ken Oforata, and the president is intervening for him. Is it national interest or Nana Akufo-Addo's interest?
Well,
which one are we pursuing?
There's a critical aspect about what the engagement is on the side of the NDC.
We can't openly to say that they still stand by the side.
I will go to tree. I don't pay any other phone. There's too much noise here. There's too much. I don't pay. The majority caucus. A seminar year canon. And then NDC for 7 years pro. Yeah, the party, any president, Akasa. Say Ura Kenufurata or finance minister. Any Ura Charles Edubuahia or the Minister of State. President Emo Omufo Mojuwankiwo. Yeah, emotional raising in Senom Canadian. Yet me can once was a be a bodon criminality.
Point of order and preliminary objection. I'm sure you have not read the Hansard. If you read the Hansard, you will find copious precedents of preliminary objection being raised on this floor a number of times and being considered by various speakers. I myself, as minority leader, raised preliminary objection a number of times. As majority leader, I did same. They were considered, and others, including the late Honorable J.H. Mensah, uncountable, including the current president. And so it's the practice of the House, even though not stated in the standing orders. And so the preliminary objection might be on a point of law. You cannot just overlook it and just say, because it's not point of order, we should go on. So let's listen to him, and then we do the proper thing. As I said, this is a very serious matter. It involves the revocation of the instrument of appointment of a minister of state. And particularly when it's dealing with a very serious matter, the state of our economy. And we know what is happening in the country. And so I take this matter seriously. And let's go through the right motion. At the end of the day, the decision will be taken. Yes, please, may I hear you?
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I write
fortified by Article 4A of the Constitution, 4A of the 1992 Constitution, which requires of me, Mr. Speaker, at all times to defend this Constitution. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, Mr. Speaker, I may want to open the Constitution for them. Mr. Speaker, I may want to open the Constitution for them. Mr. Speaker, I may want to open the Constitution for them. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable members, please, let's listen to him.
Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I read Article 348. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I will read the provisions allowed. Article 348. It provides, all citizens of Ghana shall have the right and duty at all times to defend this Constitution, and in particular to resist any person or group of persons seeking to commit any acts referred to in clause 3 of this article. Mr. Speaker, on the strength of this provision, I raise my preliminary legal objection to the motion moved by the minority leader on the following grounds. 1, that by considering this motion, the Parliament of Ghana will be encroaching on the province of the judiciary, acting ultra-vires, where it purports to sit and determine the veracity of the grievous allegations found in this motion. 2, that there will be a parliamentary attack on the constitutional requirement of a fair hearing if this motion, this House proceeds to hear, debate, and determine this motion without first putting in place a detailed procedure for hearing the minister in his defense. Mr. Speaker, I'm led by the Honorable Majority Leader in raising this preliminary objection. Mr. Speaker, I shall proceed to argue 2 of the grounds, and he would come in to do further elucidation. Mr. Speaker, first. Mr. Speaker, first.
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, did I hear you say that you will raise the preliminary objection, put across your views, and another person will come to support the preliminary objection? Did I hear you say that?
Mr. Speaker, you understand it better when I say I'm led. Mr. Speaker, what I mean to say is that we have a joint enterprise, and I shall proceed with the argument, and then there will be elucidation. In other words, Mr. Speaker, I will not exhaust all the grounds, but I will cede to him, and all these will come as a result of your leave. But Mr. Speaker, as it pleases you, for now, I will proceed with my right as granted to proceed.
I think it's proper for you to raise it, end it as preliminary objection, then we can proceed from there. We don't need to bring any other person to come and support. It means that you yourself, you are admitting that what you're going to put across will not be sufficient. Don't do so. Go ahead.
KOFI Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
It is Abre Eguso den Parliament huru gidi. Na video na di kan ba me won say na bi mo tro say enkra na wo mo yes adena na no members of parliament. But say ya spot NPP General Secretary wo parliament ho. A che say uhunu say ote ne picture na beto screen so sesia ote parliament what then menim what exactly ama ho aye tense sa because sesia no say majority no work it out said the wo mo chair wo mo press conference mo say wo mo support minority na ebema minority no enya numbers no a wo mo hwehwe no ema wo mo entumi entu anamo a wo mpese wo mo etu no enti say ye nhunu what will happen. Ebi mo so ahya suggest say anything can happen say before no rise to a pointer enkonya to kura etumi ebam and so well you go so monitor the ekoso ewo parliament ye be sign akosisi ya na afi ama wahunu said the ensem no eko make say the MPs no hwe ni mu nyina ne say ebeya yenyi finance minister emfa no emfiri ho say ontumi enye n'adwuma no ebi office Ghana baby a hokyere no akono ano ayeden yi pa eno ene sese de ekoso se ubisa se de na ekoso a that is what is happening. We say confused man nana kwabena echampo nana kwabena minim ni pa ko a oye confused o parliament wa hu no a wo ka ne ho asem wasi bo friend this NPP must go, we need a change. Tired of them we free Robbie that ho and what sure and not the buyer was say if this is we have the men, okay, if this is we have the men, then Mahama is far better than this mess led by Nana Adowefri Ziggy Osonho. And we also say, why can't these NPP MPs be principled for God's sake? Do they think Akufo-Addo will win them seat in their various constituencies? Anyway, I know your question obisa ma mao de ekoso gidi a de a ehyasie ewo ho ansana na afie nsan enko back bi o say we say that side na de a minority no edi wura parliament inside and no ye hwe kakra.
KOFI Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
Circumstances that made them to move the motion in 1999 still prevail, and therefore because of that they take a press conference here that the finance minister must go, and based on that our motion 2 is on the floor. You can't use press conference to sack a finance minister. So because of that,
constitute ourselves into a quasi-judicial body, an administrative body for the purpose of conducting inquiry. We must be guided by Article 23 of the Constitution. We must be guided by Article 23 of the Constitution. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is my contention that the conduct of the minority, by way of outlining all those allegations without grounding the same on facts, will be repugnant to good conscience and fairness should we proceed to hear them. Mr. Speaker, we are not in any way attempting to say that we want to usurp the powers of the judiciary. If you look at the content of the motion paper, clearly, everything they are saying, their reliefs lie elsewhere, not in this chamber, in the shape and form. Mr. Speaker, if for the avoidance of doubt, they really want to exercise their power of oversight, They have an opportunity to file a question, which question would have given the minister an opportunity to respond for the fact to be known. As the Speaker said, censure is a matter upon which we cannot allow trivialities to overtake it. Mr. Speaker, I shall proceed with ground 2, which is parliamentary attack on fair hearing. Mr. Speaker, for this purpose, I shall refer us to Order 106, 107, and 108. Mr. Speaker, it is my case, Mr. Speaker, that 106 provides a detailed procedure for the removal of President, Vice President, Deputy Speaker, and also makes mention of vote of censure on a Minister of State. If you come to 106.2, Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, 106.2b, it says that the notice shall be accompanied by a detailed statement of fact to prove that the conduct or the physical or mental capacity of the president or vice president should be investigated. Mr. Speaker, by parity of reason, there's something called parity of reasoning. Parity of reasoning. Mr. Speaker, if you read the A, it also talks about notice. If you move, Mr. Speaker, to 107, I would want to read A, B, and C. And this is what it says, Mr. Speaker. A talks about 7 days notice. B talks about the motion to be debated in 14 days. But for emphasis, C, this is what it says. Prior proceedings shall be taken in a committee appointed in that behalf. The Speaker or the Deputy Speaker shall be entitled to be heard in his defense, either by himself or by his representative. Mr. Speaker, 108 specifically talks about censure. I contend that the lacuna found in 108 can only be cured if by parity of reasoning we apply 106 and 107 provisions mutatis mutandis. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, it is my submission that the supposed lacuna in 108 can only be cured if we read 106 and 107 together and apply the provisions therein. Mutatis mutandis. Mr. Speaker, that is the only way we'll be ensuring fair hearing. After all, Mr. Speaker, it is clear that since the Constitution made this provision, we as a House, I don't want to say we have failed, but we as a House have not enacted in extenso to guide the rule of procedure to be followed. Mr. Speaker, what is rule of law? What is rule of law? Rule of law is about due process. It's about rule of procedure. It's about rule of fair hearing. It's about notice to the party whom an allegation is made against. Mr. Speaker, we cannot say that merely the Constitution providing for us to move a motion on censure, we will therefore arrogate that power, go ahead to file a motion on ex-cathedral grounds, not grounded in reason, fact, and law, and then say that a public officer whose office, Mr. Speaker, this House approved, should be dismissed, or that his instruments of appointment should be revoked. Mr. Speaker, I refer us to the United States. We don't have a precedent in this House. The attempt that was made in 1999 was not carried through. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, let's go to the United States of America. In the United States of America, where a bill of impeachment is brought to the House by members of Parliament who are called managers, Mr. Speaker, the first step is for them to establish a prima facie. By establishing a prima facie, Mr. Speaker, they go through the motion at the lower house. And going through the motion in the lower house, by 1/3 of votes, this is ferried to the second chamber, the Senate, where a full trial commences with the Chief Justice of the United States presiding. In this case, the applicants, who are members of Parliament, are allowed as quote-unquote the prosecutors. They make their case, the party is heard. Mr. Speaker, in our case, unlike the United States, they had the broader provision in the Constitution. They went a step further to enact a rule of procedure to guide the process. Mr. Speaker, I then ask my colleagues, they should tell us whether as a house we have a rule of procedure to regulate censure. Maybe today it is Ofori. So crucify him. Crucify him. But Mr. Speaker, when in 1999 the issue arose, I have the comment, the veritable words used by Honorable Cletus Avoka. I've read it. Where he was talking about the right of fair hearing. I have it here. I've read it. Where he argued forcefully with some nostalgic effect that the person must be heard, that the proper thing must be done. Mr. Speaker, what is good for Kwame Petra is good for Ofori. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Mr. Speaker, we cannot construe this application to be properly before us. If we go ahead, Mr. Speaker, to consider this application, we'll be doing a lot of injustice to our colleagues. Mr. Speaker, let's read Article 23 of the Constitution. Okay. Mr. Speaker, Article 19. Mr. Speaker, first Article 19. Mr. Speaker, 2D provides, a person charged with a criminal offense shall be given a fair trial within a reasonable time by a court. Now, Mr. Speaker, 2D, be informed immediately in a language he understands and in detail and of the nature of the offense charged. Mr. Speaker, again by parity of reasoning. Again by parity of reasoning. The minority should not create any impression that anybody here or the majority is against their motion. But Mr. Speaker, due process must be followed. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Atta is before a court of law. Is it the case that he has just been sent to prison? He cannot be sent to prison. He must be heard on allegations. He must be heard and he must defend himself. All of us here as politicians, should anybody raise an allegation to come up with anything of corruption, of whatever, you expect as your bona fide to be given fair hearing. And fair hearing includes all documents to be relied on by your adversary to be made available to you. Mr. Speaker, again, Mr. Speaker, let us look at 2E, and I will use that as the override. We cannot play something or nothing. It says, the person be given adequate time and facilities for the preparation of his defense. Mr. Speaker, as it stands now, if this motion is allowed to proceed where there will be debate, it would amount to injustice, unfairness, in the sense that the minister wouldn't have been given adequate time to prepare for his defense. Mr. Speaker, the grounds upon which they raised the grounds upon which the motion was moved. These grounds were not made available to the minister. Their so-called evidence has not been made available to the minister. Mr. Speaker, disclosure is an integral part of any civil or criminal jurisprudence. And even in recent case, Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court of our land has ruled that prior to criminal trial, every document that the prosecution, Mr. Speaker, will rely on must be made available to the accused. Mr. Speaker, how do we proceed to debate this motion when even as members of parliament who are expected to vote upon this motion do not have copies of the evidence upon which these members rely? We are here, we are expected to vote. Mr. Speaker, this is not political talk as usual. This is not the usual political rhetoric. This is about the reputation of a Ghanaian citizen serving his country. This is about a fellow politician who is serving his country as a finance minister, who members of this house are alleging that he's committed certain infractions, committed certain offenses, and they have documents with them, and they expect that by merely raising the issue, we should trust their judgment enough, rely on them, vote without having evidence, without having ability to peruse that which they rely on. Mr. Speaker, no justice system. Mr. Speaker, no justice system. No justice system anywhere in a serious democracy will allow this. Mr. Speaker, I move on to Article 23 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 23 of the Constitution, I read, administrative bodies and administrative officials shall act fairly and reasonably and comply with requirements imposed on them by law, and persons aggrieved by the exercise of such acts and decisions shall have a right to seek redress before a court or other tribunal. Mr. Speaker, emphasis fairness. And if as parliament, we cannot grant such a sine qua non right provided for in Article 23 and ensure its implementation, its enforcement, especially when a finance minister is being put on fire, Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect, we will not be doing justice to the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, above all, Article 296 is very profound. Article 296 is very profound. Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised some first-timers want to intimidate me. Mr. Speaker, if you give them even 1 minute, they can argue. Yet they can talk when they are not. They can make argument not for the record. I would want to sit down for you to come back and argue. Can you? Mr. Speaker, Article 296 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, 296 of the Constitution requires of us, Mr. Speaker, by parity of reason, requires of us not to be capricious, not to be biased, not to be unfair. 296 expects of us to be candid in our dealings with our fellow citizens. Mr. Speaker, having stood on my feet for 15 minutes, I shall at this point, Mr. Speaker, cede the rest of my argument to Honorable Chairman Sabonsu to proceed with the rest. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Enti Parliament the ekoso ewo hono no sabre debate no den. Ma mensan kobio as a speaker ekasa ensan kobio.
I'll have to listen to you to give me a guide so that I can give the appropriate ruling. But I think the real objection has been put across. I completely disagree with a call on the majority leader to support the preliminary objection. Unless, because the one who moved the motion, I did not allow it to be seconded. And therefore, the motion is not yet before the House. Now, if you're raising a preliminary objection, it could lead to the House taking the position that the motion should not be before the House. That's why I usually allow that before the secondment of the motion. Because once the motion is seconded, it is for the debate, which means it's before the House. Now, you cannot, after giving us the grounds of your objection, only two, which you have deliberated upon, now call on another person. That definitely, if you had stated that the preliminary objection is being taken by this number of people, and these are the number of grounds, I will handle two. This person will handle this number. Then we are properly seized of it. But, honorable members, don't let me repeat what others said. I will not want to do so. So what I can do in the circumstances, we have heard you loud and clear on the two grounds. I will listen to a response to the preliminary objection, and then I will give a ruling, and we'll move by that. The preliminary objection is okay. I've heard you. I want a response from this side. I give a ruling, and then we proceed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't intend to run counter to what you have just said. I said, I don't intend to run counter to what you have said. But if indeed a motion has been moved, the matter raised by the Deputy Majority Leader was that he was raising preliminary objection to the debate. You granted him space. I am saying that there are other areas in respect of the argument of the preliminary objection that is raised, that he wanted me to continue. The Speaker. You can't point to me with your left hand. You have changed the hand. Don't engage in wild gesticulation, especially when you are in the front. Speaker, I'm just appealing that
If you grant him space, then perhaps you have to also grant him space to fortify it. Other than that, if you are according him space to respond to the objections, then perhaps we can put everything together, and if he has any objections, respond to all of them. I think that would be most fair. That's my appeal to you. Either you grant me space to continue the preliminary objections, or afford him space, and then I come back. But I think that it will be tidier if you are granting him space to respond.
That if they really meant it, and it was a principle.
Not to debate, but continue on the path of the objection. That is that's the appeal I'm making to you.
Honorable Majority Leader, don't anticipate what I will do. I will do what is right. As I told you, I take a very serious view of this motion. And so I will not curtail any debate unlawfully, unconstitutionally, something that is against our rules and practice. So I just want to handle the preliminary objection that has been raised, and usually when a preliminary objection is raised, the other side is given the opportunity. What do you say to this? That is exactly what I'm trying to do. Then from there we proceed. So please be assured that if you want to even participate in the whole debate, you have the opportunity to do so. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have heard the arguments informing the preliminary objections. And the arguments, as we heard, are constitutional in nature. One, he argues about a right to fair trial. Mr. Speaker, I thought that since you last shared off, Mr. Speaker, I thought that since you last shared off your gown and wig and started wearing batakari and a hat to preside, the Honorable Afenyo Makin would have realized that this is not a court of law. But in spite of that, he still seeks to transform this chamber into a court of law. Mr. Speaker, this is a motion on a vote of censure. The motion on a vote of censure is clearly provided for and defined in the Constitution. The procedures are clearly outlined in the Constitution. And no one can derogate from those constitutional provisions, especially if you remember the recent case of Justice Abdullahi, that we cannot, even in our standing orders, derogate from the express provisions of the Constitution regarding our procedures. And so it is clear that for a motion of censure, these are the procedures under Article 82, and those have been complied with. Your concern in your preliminary objection is about the right to be heard. And that, fortunately for you, if the right to be heard is equally provided for in Article 82. The minority leader, Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, let me read Article 82. When he made reference to Article 82, and I hope that if Honorable Afenyo refused to listen to the minority leader, he will not refuse to listen to me. Because the minority leader was clear when he made reference to Article 82 and said that the motion shall be debated in Parliament within 14 days after the receipt by the Speaker of the notice for the motion, And 82.4 says, a minister of state, in respect of whom a vote of censure is debated under clause 3 of this article, is entitled during the debate, to be heard in his defense, during the debate, to be heard in his defense, during the debate, to be heard in his defense. Mr. Speaker, the motion, if moved, during the debate, you can insist on the right of the minister to be heard. Mr. Speaker, they raise issues of notice. Mr. Speaker, government business. We know the practice of this House. A minister of state is a non-voting member of this House. Article 111. A minister of state is a non-voting member of this House. Now, everybody in this House knows that under our standing orders and by our practice and procedures, notices are served in the order paper. And the notice was published severally, and that is why the Constitution provides clear timelines so that you do not surprise a minister. That is why there must be a 7 days notice, and that the debate must take place within 14 days. Clear timelines so that any minister who is the subject of the vote of censure won't have adequate notice of what is going to happen. And Mr. Speaker, I will be surprised if we have a majority leader and a deputy majority leader, a majority leader who is also Minister for Parliamentary Affairs and attends cabinet, and there is a motion on a vote of censure against the finance minister, and he has failed to serve notice on that finance minister that there is a motion on a vote of censure against him. And then we'll come to this house and tell us that because the finance minister hasn't received notice of that motion, that we should not proceed with that motion. Mr. Speaker, I will be very, very surprised. Indeed, when we're approving the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, we assume that his most important role is to liaise between Parliament and the Executive. Is he saying that he has failed to communicate to the Minister of Finance that there is a motion calling for a censure against the Finance Minister, who is already a member of the House, Mr. Speaker? Lastly, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, please, I take 5 minutes suspension. I'll be back.
All right, I was for Sabre speaker say on here 5 minutes. Or my name say or don't call John Saba obintimi enche. But or co break it for be small crocodile be na wasan ababetwaso. And that is what is happening. But said me kan no uhunu mark picture no ho fato so be hunu say a full house. Make I say General Secretary Emma, the New Patriotic Party, and some other party executive, echo Parliament ho. Ye name reason Emma or call ho ankasa, but that is what is happening. Me se me call sisia na yakwakwedi enkomo a share said the semno echo na break ya speaker akono. What will it mean? Meko hosisia na afi yakwakwedi enkomo na yahwe said the ehon asem etie. We understand say a lot of party and penning for akọ eho whether to lobby for the finance minister and answer saying no yentumi enche but mame enko na afi yenkonkodi enkomo bi ewo parliament ho yene ensentwefo a ewo ho no ebi enkodi nkomo enhwe hawa heat no etie sisi a make say na afi yentumi entwen saa minutes no yebema okwan na onso abamu abekire wadwen whether this will mean anything the ekoso sisi no say ebetumi asesa something and I say edede kwa de sa na womo apon na womo aba na asesen na ebeko ma menkwa homa no so na ye ne Prince Wedi enkonkwedi enkomo yensentweni ewo parliament ho yenhwede ye hunu no eye de cameras no capture but on the side no den na ekoso ho ma mehwe se yebetumi ene Prince Wedi edi nkomo kakra sabre ya speaker asre some few minutes say wode minim so homo yo say or the name penifo no fa adwen kakra Prince memo akwaba
thank you sir bro mira
Sasia no menim say break aba at the same time hunu pictures bi and videos bi suggest say apart from nipa ye hunu wo mo ewo parliament inside the MPs na ankasa no there are other menim say me from foreigners nipa wo mo nye members of parliament o maba ho why identify bi sir
Mira, man, ya identify this. Any term no so answer na we use no parliament. So ba na when MP na o copy chamber one an floor of chamber na one for stranger. But stranger no na won be beyond the moment. Inti GFK ye ura just could ya or NPP General Secretary no. Or what happy anopa parliament se won kunyu siasia na or trap for shaman juya so yin semfuano ni nano mira se no do timba ha say no oba babia aya na unreche benum as speaker FP ana won fa bamu no sa kona ho no na se eba se ebia MPs bi ana ni Mrs. Bikwe Fabuche ba ye ma won etra no sa backbench for no ekona ho no ho na wote a oguso hwe proceedings ni na ne se enu a enyi a parliament kon ye no ye ready FK and then the majority for no be ye meeting wa ha mebo anajo bi ese 12 o answer no fi ha say enu na ne se media won we guso won di sisi ya speaker apeja ni mu se ne wakasa eni brewo sa vote of sense ani won ti no one of person what tremo no se eba se o attend to nature core na I was so suspended was shot no suspended 10 minutes and as you see I was say man 5 minutes or kwa bay no mira what that so to here ko say media question na no what dey need dey chibi
okay na say ohwa na Johnson the speaker na wako break kakra na wako Johnson aba and
mira as I say second deputy speaker and here was yan na echi and then so too many na nya dey say me who first deputy speaker free Agradaa na speaker so etukwa kwama no na otiwini ni na no wetimi aba nti akoye ono kwa nti sebasa na was suspended house na wakwaba.
All right. Finance minister na nim say
mira na nim nye enika finance minister kra de ye hwe Medina sinina no na nya de say enya de say owo fi ha say tani won amenya ntia no majority for chema oni o memu otukwan oni o memu mira.
Okay, on one can ni ha mete se na MPs ne ba ko ka se wa ma lawyer and e be represent no e wo ho and all that but the deputies no and I think I'm a prefix say one more the deputies no be official
on a bro say sorry no ye you what is about so or ha say be ntimi two deputies ni na dia on na wo chimba no mo a won do we need djumedie na e connect na otimi hu say the minority for no ye won make you on point no debate na e bit mi chu on pa ya na so wo hwe se me won tia kunya no ho ne se le won ya me right say ano ahye
me nimu de ye betwen ama wo mu atumi edne nyina abawie but e bekwa kwesi baabi wo hwe se de ye koyi ni dede a wo mudi kan ye any press conferences e pie e ba ye ya
mira the baby e besi pa na ne se enya de voice of sense no ebetimi abaso esanse se ne ye behare na bi so all kasa no wotwem ni na se onim se woni numbers no constitution na won gira so article 82 no etrese most of sense and beba so agin se unya tutels no 275 no na agin se wonya 181 going and so nya dey so won benya esanse majority for no awie nyinam se won ye debate no one year debate no never twist one better abana on be safety workout. One per se send ba kono ko ya speaker okay ene ba me de ko ya obi ko tuma obi no we dey want to kra na vote na koso e no aka se bi obi afum kwan won na be work out e no on general secretary so e wa ha ensure that
okay you be say about ho ma won say wo mo assign aba speaker
he should be removed, he should go home. They should be revoked. This is not a court. This is not transforming this parliament into a court. And so the issue about fair trial doesn't arise. In any case, as I argued earlier, this is a motion and this is a debate that is going to take place, and he has the opportunity to be heard. He has the opportunity to be heard. No one has denied him that opportunity. The honorable minority leader has not tied him somewhere and prevented him from coming to this house today to defend himself. He ought to be here to defend himself. Mr. Speaker, when you speak about this house not having powers to investigate matters and that it is only a court of law that has judicial powers, that is a clear misunderstanding of the Constitution. This Constitution gives quasi-judicial powers to this Parliament. Quasi-judicial powers have been given to this Parliament. That is why if you look at Article 103 of the Constitution, is obvious, it's express. 103 deals with committees of Parliament and says that a committee appointed under this article shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial. Mr. Speaker, so judicial power is not exclusively given to the judiciary. This Parliament has quasi-judicial powers, and if this Parliament deems it necessary, to probe into certain matters in a judicial way, this Parliament has a mechanism to do that. And that is what I want the Deputy Majority Leader to understand. So, Mr. Speaker, his objection is founded on Article 3 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 3 of the Constitution does not arise at all. Article 3, in fact, he started with 4A, and when we corrected him, he came back and said 3-4. Mr. Speaker, Article 3-4 only deals with attempts to overthrow the Constitution. Who is trying to overthrow the Constitution in this chamber today? Article 3 talks about an attempt to overthrow the Constitution and the duty of everyone to defend this Constitution. No one in this chamber is seeking to overthrow the Constitution. If anything at all, there is someone in this chamber who is seeking to mutilate the understanding of this Constitution. Mutilate the understanding of this Constitution. Rector. This Constitution does not deny a minister who is the subject of a vote of censure a right to even fair trial, if you want to call it fair trial, because it says that he must be heard. He must be heard in a debate. And we haven't gotten to the debate yet. So allow the motion to be moved. And when we debate it, then you can bring him, allow the motion to be seconded. So that when we move to debate, then you can bring him. You can bring a Bible along. You can bring any document and defend himself. Mr. Speaker, I believe that this preliminary objection is baseless. It has no legs to stand.
It does not rely on any provision of the Constitution. It finds no favor with any provisions of our standing orders. It is just as incompetent as the person we are seeking to remove. Mr. Speaker, I invite you to dismiss this preliminary objection and let's move on with the serious business of this House today. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, enough is enough. Let me assure all of you that the Honourable Minister of Finance will be given ample opportunity to defend himself. There's a vast difference between censure and removal. Censorship because the person is appointed by an instrument of appointment. And that process is handled by Parliament and His Excellency the President. Members of Parliament and the President are not appointed. They are elected by the people. Both are elected. The Vice President supports the President. During the 4-year term, the people don't have the opportunity to come back to reconsider the decision they made in electing us. And that authority is enshrined in the People's House called Parliament. And so we are given the power to remove a member or the President or the Vice President. Our election is not through an instrument. We come in through votes and we swear an oath. And that is why in the Constitution and our standing orders, the provisions are different. Before the President can revoke the appointment, the Minister or Deputy Minister is to come before where it all started. The ladder that you climbed is the same ladder you have to go down through. And so you start with Parliament. And then Parliament now, through some constitutional appeal to the President, calling on him, that's why it's not shall, it says may, revoke the appointment of the minister. And so they are different. By premising your preliminary objection on the Constitution, you know definitely well that I don't have that authority to interpret and enforce the Constitution. My authority is to interpret and enforce the rules of the House, the standing orders. And so I cannot give an opinion on the issue of the constitutional provision that has been cited. I can't interpret them, I can't enforce them because I'm not part of the judiciary. What I can do at this time is to allow the motion to be seconded. I will give opportunity for it to be responded to, and by our standing orders, because I'm guided by the standing orders, which I can interpret. The matter will be referred to an ad hoc committee to investigate, where the minister will have the ample opportunity to defend himself, and where what our colleagues said cannot constitute evidence. The evidence will be placed before the committee. The minister will have the opportunity to defend himself. A report will be presented to the House, and we will debate that report. Honorable members, I said today, 10th November 2022, is historic. Was the first motion in the nature of a removal of a minister, which was another minister of finance, was on the 10th of November 1999. So the same 10th of November is today. Now, that debate took a number of days. It started on the 10th and ended on the 12th, and the decision was taken. But that, as I said, is of a moral persuasion. It was a motion to address a public interest, urgent public concern. But this one is constitutional. It's more serious. And so you get ample opportunity to dilate and present your evidence, and the minister will be given the opportunity to defend himself. Don't forget that in our standing orders, they say that the minister can appear before the committee with counsel. A counsel cannot appear on the floor of the House. It has to be at the level of a committee. And that is why, under the standing orders, when you go through the standing order 106, standing order 106, 1, it reads, the House may pass a resolution to remove the President, the Vice President, Mr. Speaker, and Deputy Speakers, and a vote of censure on a Minister of State. The second line, as we say, the second sentence is, the House may consider such motion and come to a decision or refer it to a committee on a motion made by any member. And that is why I will be referring to a committee, because the minister is entitled to appear before the committee with counsel. That will also give the applicants the opportunity to put across the evidence at their disposal, and then they will report to the House, and the decision will be taken. Please, these are serious businesses. We haven't had any copious, detailed layout procedure. We are guided by the Constitution and our standing orders, and will go accordingly. So please, with all due respect to my colleague, my son, the honorable member for Efutu, I dismiss your preliminary objection, and I will call on the Minority Chief Whip to second the motion, and then I'll come back to the majority side to respond before the referral to the ad hoc committee. So please, Minority Chief Whip, you may now second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the minority leader as appeared on pages 5 and 6 of today's order paper. And Mr. Speaker, to do so, permit me to just repeat items 6 and 7 in the motion. And Mr. Speaker, the alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and excruciating cost of living crisis
and 7, gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship. Mr. Speaker, where did we start with the Minister of Finance? Mr. Speaker, we started with the Minister of Finance on the budget statement he read to this House on behalf of His Excellency the President in 2017. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I quote paragraph 19, page 3 of the 2017 budget statement. I quote, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the budget will set the pace for job creation and accelerated growth for the empowering the private sector. To accomplish this, we will shift the focus of economic management from taxation to production. This will reduce the cost of doing business and create a conducive climate for investment and job creation. In this regard, a number of taxes that impede growth will be reviewed and, if necessary, abolished. Government will reverse the recent low growth trend by boosting agriculture and industrial productivity. Unquote, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I quote again, pages 2 and 3, paragraph 14 of the same budget statement 2017. This commitment, however, is hampered by 5 constraints which we need to overcome. 1. Low revenue collection. 2. Expenditure overruns and corruption. 3. High wage bills. 4. Rigidity of fiscal structure caused by heavy earmarking of tax revenue. And 6. High debt service payment. Mr. Speaker, this was where Mr. Ofori started with us. And he told us that these were the problems that he was going to deal with. Mr. Speaker, 6 years down the line, where are we? Mr. Speaker, this is the finance minister that has moved our debt from averagely 120 billion Ghana cedis to over 500 billion Ghana cedis. This is the finance minister, Mr. Speaker, that has moved our debt servicing from 14.1 billion in 2016 to averagely about 48 billion in 2022. Mr. Speaker, this is the finance minister that have moved our wage bill from approximately 14.4 billion in 2016 to now 37 billion in 2022. And Mr. Speaker, how did they increase or how did they balloon the wage bill? Mr. Speaker, you have right from the presidency, presidential staffers that have moved from a petrol about 300 staffers to over 995 presidential staffers in 2022, as reported to this House for the 2021, the number of presidential staffers that we have. Mr. Speaker, if you go to almost all the public agencies, you will see persons that have been engaged just because they are party apparatchiks who do not really have anything to do. And a clear example, Mr. Speaker, is our municipal district, metropolitan municipal and district assemblies. Mr. Speaker, you will have a district assembly that will have assistant directors. Some have as many as 14. Some have 18. And they alternate in coming to office. Mr. Speaker, this is the minister who is claiming that all the sufferings that we are seeing today is as a result of the COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, this is the finance minister who took advantage of the COVID situation and got in excess of 22 billion Ghana cedis that was supposed to support the economy. This is the only country, probably one of the few countries in the world, that during COVID, whilst ministers of finance were doing everything to support the individuals, in our country, this was the finance minister who decided to tax us because of COVID. So we have COVID levy. This finance minister, Mr. Speaker,
has made it his habit to avoid coming to this house even when he has duties to perform in this house. Today is a typical example of deliberately refusing to be here. Mr. Speaker, this is the finance minister that deliberately falsified documents or figures just to create an impression that everything was going on. And Mr. Speaker, if you take the budget and the reporting that he has done to the IMF and the World Bank, in 2019, Mr. Speaker, in 2018 first, he reported to this house that the fiscal deficit was 3.9% of GDP. When he now has to report to World Bank, the actual was 7.1% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, in 2019, he came to report to this house that the fiscal deficit was 4.8% of GDP. When the actuals are now to be reported to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, the actual is 7.1% of GDP. In 2022, he reported to this house that the fiscal deficit was 11.7%. When the actual, when he was now confronted to report the truth, the actual is now 17.2%. In 2021, Mr. Speaker, he reported to this house that the fiscal deficit was 9.2, when the actual was 12.4. Mr. Speaker, for the first half year in 2022, the fiscal deficit is 5.6% above a target of the 3.9. Mr. Speaker, what are we waiting to see from this minister before all of us will now believe the time has come for him to exit is now? Mr. Speaker, this was a minister who emphatically told the whole world that Ghana will never go to the IMF. Yes, it is said that it's only the food that doesn't change his mind. But he said it with emphasis. Today we are at the IMF. Mr. Speaker, I'm reliably informed he is part of the impediment that is not making us complete the negotiation at the IMF. And you, Mr. Speaker, you hear senior economists in this country stating this for a fact. One typical one is Mr. Kwame Penim, who says that this finance minister is hindering the progress that Ghana has to make at the IMF. Mr. Speaker, poverty, as reported by the World Bank, is growing very fast in Ghana due to this incompetent finance minister. Mr. Speaker, I must say that the time to act is now. The time to act is now. This excuse that, oh, let him finish the IMF negotiation, let him present a budget, let him finish the appropriation. Mr. Speaker, this budget last 2 years when he was not available, we had the majority that reading the budget. The budget of this country did not question. Mr. Speaker, there are technical people who prepared this budget. It is not the finance minister. If it is removed today, the budget of this country will not collapse. There are equally technical people who will carry on for the next person to be able to carry the mantle. Mr. Speaker, I will refer you to the day that these motions were filed. With just the announcement of the possibility of the finance minister being removed, Mr. Speaker, you yourself acknowledge this in your seat. Our currency started having its strength. And at least for the past 2 weeks that the whole country is waiting for today, we are seeing some similar stability. Our failure today to remove the finance minister will continue to hurt each and every one of us. It will continue to hurt our constituents. It will continue to hurt the economy. It will continue to hurt businesses. Businesses are collapsing. Ordinary citizens are now struggling to feed themselves. This is a responsibility for all of us. And I just want, Mr. Speaker, to urge my colleagues, especially the Rambo 80, to have at the back of their mind. You have a reason for rebelling. Rambo 80. You know this is the finance minister who doesn't listen. You know the effort that you've made severally to get him to do the right things, and he refused. Those are the reasons that led you to rebel. I can assure you, if you backtrack,
you will regret it. Because you know the kind of president and his family that you have. They will surely come after you. It is better today you help us to remove him. It will give you mileage. It will make people believe you. All the rumor that was going around that people made an attempt to bribe you. Today you need to justify it. You need to prove to the world that you were never bribed. You were never influenced. And truly your move to get him removed is not out of hatred. It is simply on basis of principle. Keep to the principle today. Mr. Speaker, I will say this is the finance minister who deliberately and consistently throughout his tenure had been dragging his feet when it comes to releasing that Parliament has approved to statutory funds. These statutory funds, some are constitutional, some are by legislation in this house. This finance minister deliberately frustrates these statutory funds so that they are not able to perform. Mr. Speaker, one, constitutional, common fund. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, common fund, the arrears is over 3.9 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, with debt fund, the arrears are over 3 billion Ghana cedis. The health insurance fund, the arrears well over 2 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this is a finance minister that we must remove. Mr. Speaker, there was this thing the minority law was saying. We have the men. We have the men. We have the men. And you heard the vice president screaming, what a solid team. What a solid team. What a solid team. Today, when the real challenges came, we have now come to realize that apparently it was not the men they have. They were just area boys. They were area boys because they are not able to confront the real challenges that confront our country. Mr. Speaker, I want to end. Mr. Speaker, I want to end with reference to Article 82 of the 1992 Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 82(4) is very, very clear. And Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I want to urge, Mr. Speaker, you being the chair, to be mindful of Article 82(4), that a minister of state, in respect of whom a vote of censure is debated under clause 3 of this article, is entitled during the debate to be heard in his defense. Mr. Speaker, the catch word is during the debate. Mr. Speaker, I didn't get the opportunity or the privilege to attend PROSEC. Neither did I get the privilege to attend Achimota. But Mr. Speaker, for during the debate, I believe it means during the debate. And this is the time after seconding for the debate. And that's when the minister is supposed to be heard. Mr. Speaker, when you come to our standing orders, I want to refer, Mr. Speaker, the 106 and 108 of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, order 106 is very, very, very clear, and 108. In the case of 108, Mr. Speaker, it is virtually a verbatim lifting of the 82(4) of the 1992 Constitution. The interesting thing, Mr. Speaker, is 106, and I read, the House may pass a resolution to remove the President, the Vice President, Mr. Speaker, and the Deputy Speakers, and a vote of censure on a Minister of State. And Mr. Speaker, my interest is here. Emphasis. Or the emphasis is here. The House may consider such motion and come to a decision or refer it to a committee on a motion made by any member. Mr. Speaker, with all respect and humility to you, in this text, nowhere did he say Mr. Speaker will refer the matter to any ad hoc committee. It says that the House may take a decision, and decision in this House, Mr. Speaker, is taken by vote. So if if any member can move a motion that something should be referred to a committee, Mr. Speaker, it is for the decision of this House. That is what Order 106 is saying, and therefore we have to vote on it.
Honorable,
Listen to him. Sit down and listen.
you are completely out of order. Honorable member, I don't take my rulings lightly. Please. You are attacking my ruling, and I think you don't have that authority to do so. If you want to attack my ruling, come by a substantive motion. Your understanding of during the debate of matters before the House is not only during plenary session. At the committee level, what you do there is to debate. That is why when you agree at the committee level and you come and put across the case here, you don't waste time in debating again. Please, that is why the same rules that apply to plenary apply to committee level. When you talk about decision, yes, the decision is taken by the House. The decision is not taken by the Speaker. But it says, or refer it to a committee on a motion made by any member. The motion for censorship will have to be made by a member, and then you refer it to a committee. That is exactly what I said I'm going to do. Yes, go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect to your office, the House is defined in these standing orders as Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, Parliament, it is this chamber with the 275 members. Mr. Speaker, when it refers to
Honorable member, please, the House cannot be constituted without a Speaker. You must understand that. It's when a Speaker is presiding that it becomes a House. You can't have this room with 275 members seated there and call yourself a House. You must move away from the understanding that you are the makers of everything here. I've been listening to you. Don't give me that temptation.
Mr. Speaker, I hope I have your permission to continue speaking.
Yes, you have my permission, but
Speaker,
I think that you have to withdraw.
So long as I hold this
honorable member, you have to withdraw it and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, look. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy you've given me the permission to speak. And Mr. Speaker, one of the cardinals of democracy is to listen to each other, even when we disagree with each other. And Mr. Speaker, on Order 106, I am reading to say the intention to refer this to the committee.
Honorable member, resume your seat. Resume your seat.
It is wrong. It cannot be right. Listen to what Speaker says it. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the motion with a clear indication any attempt to move this matter to a committee will be a travesty of justice done to the chamber of this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I direct that all what the minority chief has said, after I have told him to withdraw and apologize, be expunged from the records. I so direct Hansard expunge everything from the record. Minority Chief Whip, you have a difficulty in catching my eye again. Yes, Majority Leader. Majority Leader. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move the motion. It's been seconded by the whip. Normally we'll hear you state that motion as moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. If you do so and hear the leader, I will be happy. Then we know that we have a competent motion before your House, before you take any consequential action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
KOFI Radio.
Minority Leader, I thought the good thing for you to have done was to have apologized on behalf of the President. Please.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize on behalf of the whip. Thank you.
Honorable members, the Minority Leader is right in drawing my attention to the fact that I should have stated motion moved and seconded. It's now for the consideration of the House. That is the right thing. And I will do so. Honorable members, motion moved and seconded. It's now for the consideration of the House. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I take a cue from the indication that you gave that at the end of it, the motion shall have to be referred to a committee. And Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I want to raise issues with respect to the preliminary objection that I said I was going to raise. Mr. Speaker, the motion is predicated on Article 82 of the Constitution, and the Minority Leader has given us that indication. The Speaker, as we stand here today, I don't even really know which motion is before us. The Speaker, I say so because on Tuesday, October 25th, when we came to this House, and the Minority Leader signaled that they were collecting signatures to file a vote of censure on the Minister for Finance, the Minority Chief Whip was loud and clear that he had filed such a motion. And the motion came to be admitted by your good self, Mr. Speaker. That motion, which appeared thereafter on Thursday, 27th October 2022, bears the sponsorship of the Honorable Alhaji Mohammed Mubrak Muntaka. Mr. Speaker, the motion that is before us today bears the sponsorship of the Honorable Minority Leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, and the Honorable Muntaka Mubrak. The Speaker, how did this metamorphose? Motion that you admitted, sponsored by the Honorable Muntaka. Today, we have a motion. I'm misleading the House. I have it here. What is what? Mr. Speaker, it is here. Let's look at let's look at
honorable majority leader. Honorable majority leader. Honorable majority leader. Minority leader. Honorable leaders, please, resume your seats. Honorable leaders, resume your seats. Honorable members, the motion that was filed, completely complied with the law.
KOFI Radio,
and are admitted.
radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
There is no question about that.
Radio.
So, minority leader, the motion has been moved, it has been seconded, it's now before the House.
Mr. Speaker, I will move on. I've made a distinction, I'll move on. Mr. Speaker, withdraw it. I'm talking to facts here on the other paper. What should be withdrawn? Mr. Speaker,
please. What Adring which I will add, is that all what the majority leader said with regard to the admissibility or propriety or otherwise of the motion that is being moved and debated should be expunged from the records.
Mr. Speaker, I will not challenge it. I'll go on. Mr. Speaker, now the constitution that he quoted, Article 82(4) that he quoted, provides, and that is where he predicated his. Mr. Speaker, it says, a minister of state in respect of whom a vote of censure is debated under clause 3 of this article is entitled during the debate to be heard in his defense. Mr. Speaker, hearing a person, if we submit to the Constitution, the right to be heard includes the right to be heard either by himself or by an elected council. You can shake your head. Mr. Speaker, Article 69 clause 7 of the Constitution is explicit on this when it comes to deal with the president. Mr. Speaker, 69(7) provides that is in respect of a motion of censure or an impeachment motion on the president, that the president shall be entitled during the proceedings of the tribunal or of the medical board to be heard in his defense by himself or by a lawyer or other expert. Mr. Speaker, the right to be heard includes the right to be heard by counsel. I mean, this is fundamental. So if my colleague, the member for Boku Central, is saying that service, we are even talking about service, and he says that the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs should be giving notice to the Minister of Finance once a motion is moved. Mr. Speaker, this is a tragedy. If that is the understanding of a member of Parliament who has served here for more than 4 terms, to tell me that I have the responsibility to ferry motions to ministers, that is very unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, now, Article 12.
Honorable Majority Leader, I wouldn't have stopped you because you are in full flight, but you mentioned his name. Yes. If you had stood up, I would have given you the opportunity. So let me hear him, and then I'll come back to you.
Mr. Speaker, he mentions my name, and in addition, says that my understanding of the Constitution is tragic.
It's what?
My understanding of the Constitution is tragic.
Oh,
and that I suppose 4 terms member of this House has such an understanding of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the majority leader, who I know is a friend of mine, and whose knowledge of parliamentary procedure I admire, but whose deficiency in the law is also well established, should not be saying such things. Mr. Speaker, you cannot refer to Article 69, which deals with the procedure for removing a president, where the issue is medical, if it is on health grounds, and mental capacity. And the Constitution requires that you set up a medical board, and then says that when the president is appearing before such a board, he is entitled to send either a lawyer, an expert, or any other person who can help him. You cannot try to extrapolate and say that Article 822, which is equally clear on a vote of censure, and you made it very clear that we should understand that a vote of censure is not the same as a vote of removal. It's just censure. And censure is to say that we don't like what you are doing and recommend that you should be removed. But we are not the ones to remove you. So, Mr. Speaker, Article 82 is very clear that he has a right to be heard, and to be heard in the debate, during the debate. You can't say that the right to be heard means that you should come along with the council. Assuming Mr. Speaker is not magnanimous enough to refer the matter to a committee and says that he should come and then defend himself here, where is the lawyer going to get a platform to defend himself in this chamber? Where is that lawyer going to get a platform in this chamber to come and be heard defending a finance minister?
He's not a president.
He's not a president. The problem we have in this country is that some of you have transformed him into a president. That's why we are suffering the way we are suffering. Mr. Speaker, he should withdraw what he said.
Honorable members, please, let's have a decorous debate. Let's be decent in the choice of words. Let's respect each other's views. But I think for the issue of council, look at Order 201. Order 201 guides us on the issue of council, not the Constitution. The Constitution deals with other areas, but Order 201, where you have committees inquiring into matters, even they can call the Attorney General to assist. The witness can come with a counsel. You want the person to be heard properly. And I think that it cannot be done here. All what you have stated here are all allegations. When you appear before the committee, you will now produce evidence. And then the minister will now counter. The minority leader in moving the motion referred to some of the areas you can get the evidence. And therefore, he will bring that to the House, to the committee. He talked about peer report and all those things. What he has said, we can't take that as the gospel truth. Is that evidence that will come before the committee? The committee will go through it, and then in the report, they'll refer to it, they'll quote it, and then we have a better listen to debate. That is how I think this thing should be handled. Please, Majority Leader,
Yes, Speaker, thank you.
Your colleague was not happy with some of the choice of your words when you said he was supposed to be a 4-term member of parliament. But is he or he's not? He's not supposed to be.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, we heard what he
I will come to that.
When he said that we have mutilated the understanding of the Constitution, it was from him. You said so, that
yes.
we have mutilated the understanding of the Constitution. Yes. So when I say that your own understanding and interpretation is tragic, you don't take that.
Honorable Majority Leader,
you don't take that.
You
did not that have deficiency in law. We know the lawyers of substance.
Honorable Majority Leader,
certainly it doesn't include you.
You know the practice. If you had stood up and raised objection, I would have listened to you and I would have overruled him. You did not, but he has taken the opportunity to raise concern about it, and that has to be addressed.
Yes. I think that we will depart from that. I was raising preliminary objections, and I think I spoke about Article 82 and 67.9. The 67.9, I said by parity of reason, the right to be heard includes the right to be represented by counsel. And that was the point I was making. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution in Article 12, Mr. Speaker, if I may read, Mr. Speaker, Article 12 provides that the fundamental human rights and freedoms enshrined in this chapter shall be respected and upheld by the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The rights of citizens, including ministers, should be upheld by legislature. So, Mr. Speaker, I was just saying that the right to be heard, which includes the right to be heard through a counsel, a lawyer, must be upheld by this House. When the Constitution provides in 82.4 that he has a right to be heard, you think that the right to be heard by counsel should not be included. That is where I disagree with you. And Mr. Speaker, the very preamble of this Constitution, which expresses the vision of the state, in fact, obligates us in the preamble to subscribe and commit to the rule of law. So, Mr. Speaker, the point that has been raised by the Deputy Leader is that we should comply with this. Mr. Speaker, some of the issues that have been raised in the motion, the items 5, 6, and 7, they bear a semblance to what was done in 1999, the one that you referred to. But indeed, the ones in 1, 2, 3, 4 have connotations of criminality. And Mr. Speaker, we should make a distinction. That's the point. That's the point. That if it borders on criminality, the person that you are charging must be given ample space to be heard. Mr. Speaker, and that is what we are saying, that we should grant him. Indeed, Order 80, Order 20 of our standing orders reinforces this. Both 20 and 21 reinforces this. The Speaker, we have related to Standing Order 108C. I want to mention C because our colleagues were dwelling on during proceedings and so on. The C says that the 108C provides that a motion for a vote of censure on a Minister of State shall be moved in the following manner. During the proceedings of the motion, indeed, it's not only the debate. The order 108, the Speaker, C says that the minister shall be entitled to be heard in his defense during the proceedings, not just the debate. So people who are just talking about the debate, they are even totally wrong. They are even totally wrong. And that's why I agree with you, Mr. Speaker, when you say that we should commit this to a committee. Mr. Speaker, on the strength of that, I would want to agree with you and indeed move in accord with 106.1 that this matter that is before us be given to a committee, an our committee that will go and further inquire into this matter and then come to us with their findings. Mr. Speaker, in that regard, I would want to also urge the committee that may be given this responsibility to define for us the procedures to guide the conduct of business. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are today relating to one minister. Who knows whether tomorrow it may come to a president or vice president. It should not be left to mere episodic reactions. We should have a proper structure that then would relate to this matter that is before us. And Mr. Speaker, accordingly, as I said, I move so that this matter is referred to a committee to be constituted by this House to deal with the matter. I thank you very much in the space granted.
KOFI Radio. Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
Mr. Speaker, I know the leader of government is Mr. Atta. But Mr. Speaker, on matters that impugn my integrity, I take them very, very seriously. Because, Mr. Speaker, yes, even though you have ordered that if they expunged from the record.
My Lord Leader, I got all what he said, expunged from the records and corrected him that it was complied with and I admitted it. So there's nothing on the records because I got that expunged from the records. And so you haven't done anything wrong. I really stated that. So don't put anything back on record again because this has been expunged. As discussed with the leaders, I want the feedback before I do the referral. I pass information to the leaders and I need the feedback. I'll act on it now. And I intend, honorable members, why are you on your feet? Yes.
Speaker, I was seconding the motion for the committee to be established.
I haven't yet proposed a committee. Yes.
Thank you.
Let Atta speak.
Ahmed, I haven't heard you.
Mr. Speaker, the ranking on finance was on his feet, so I wish you listen to him.
Yes, Honorable Atufosun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thought you said that the motion has been moved and seconded and is for the consideration of the House. Mr. Speaker, I thought at that point at least you hear 1-1 each before you do the referral. So I was only trying to make that appeal before you do the referral, so that we can state the position as it is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Actually, you will be heard when we come to the debate. The matter will come again to the floor. I'll give you opportunity. By that time, the evidence will be in the report for all of us to see, and then we can debate that. Honorable members, yes.
The Speaker, I'm not a lawyer and I've not been to Harvard School of Law, but I want your guidance on this because commentators are going to be commenting on it. The Speaker, I was learning when you were giving the rulings and those things, and I appreciate it. So I want you to guide me on this so that I will add it. The Speaker, order Article 83 plus 3. I want us 82 plus 3. I want us to be specific so that we know where we are going. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I want to quote Article 82(3). The motion shall be debated in Parliament within 14 days after the receipt by the Speaker of the notice for the motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to know where we are. Does it mean that within the 14 days, from 24th to 10th November, the constitutional date within which the motion must be debated elapsed after the 14th day? I don't want our colleagues on the other side tomorrow to come to say, no, now the Constitution says within 14 days, and therefore the 14th day ends on the 10th. And because of that, anything that you do after the 14 days, they will want to debate us on that. I know the people we are dealing with. And Mr. Speaker, I want your guidance on this.
Honorable member, I did mention my authority does not extend to the interpretation of the Constitution and the enforcement of the Constitution. I can only apply my understanding of the Constitution, but I cannot interpret it like in a debate of this nature. My understanding of debated within 14 days means the debate must commence within the 14 days. It doesn't mean that the debate must be concluded within the 14 days. And so we are right to have commenced the debate within the 14 days. But you know the process, and we are dealing with justice. We are not, honorable members, the debate is not ad hominem. We are not debating the person, Honorable Ken Ofori Atta. No. It's the position, the functions, the duties that we are looking at, not the person. It could have been any person. And that is why in 1999, the person that occupied that position was the one that was called upon, Honorable Kwan Pepra. So please, it's not the person that we are debating. No. The motion is very clear. After consulting leadership, I'm going to inform you the composition of the committee. The committee will be an ad hoc committee specifically for this motion. And the committee is to present the report within 7 days. Within 7 days. The committee, in consultation with leadership, will be chaired by two co-chairmen. The co-chairmen are Honorable Dominic Ayine and Honorable K.T. Hammond. The other members are Honorable Samuel Ablakwa, Honorable Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rollins, and Honorable Bernard Ahiafo. On the majority side, the other members are Honorable Yao Buama, Honorable Emmanuel Anyimedu, and Honorable Ajapa Mesa. So we have 8-member committee, and the clerk to the committee is in the person of Honorable member. Let me finish. When I compose and you are not satisfied, you can raise it. The clerk to the committee is Mr. Puaman Camilo. He is the clerk to the committee. And I said you are to report within 7 days. The House within 7 days. Now, I thought you were quoting the Constitution to me. When he said within 7 days, within 14 days, did he say working days? Did he say sitting days? So why are you trying to force me to add sitting or working? But it is known when you say 7 days, it means 7 working days. Within 7 working days. The proposal is in consultation with leadership. I hope and I pray that this will be accepted by the House. You are a member? You are not, so I'll listen to you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to make a plea that the sittings of the committee be telecast live, giving the nature of the matter, and that it will be made public, just like the Sputnik V hearings were, in the spirit of transparency and accountability and social justice and equity. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you remember you took me to Kigali for the Rwanda for the IPU meeting. And Mr. Speaker, the matter and the thing of the World Global IPU meeting was gender parity. How can 138 members who submit 4 names and no female? Mr. Speaker, we brought 4, and we brought a senator, Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rollins. You brought 4. Mr. Speaker, they must add 1 female so that the 8-member committee will be consisting of 6 male and 2 female. It cannot be, Mr. Speaker. No.
Yes, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, we submitted 4 names to you. Mr. Speaker, Emmanuel Anyimedu entry as pronounced or as announced by you, Mr. Speaker, was in error, and that error came from us. Mr. Speaker, it should be Kwame and you may do entry. That is my first issue. Issue 2. My respected friend and colleague, Sam George, contends that you should make certain pronouncements. Mr. Speaker, he referred to the Sputnik V committee, of which I chaired, and my respected friend Akando was a vice chair. It wasn't a pronouncement by the chair, but the committee met. The practice is that when such referrals are made, the committee will meet and make certain determinations. So I think that he should hold his energy levels at a very low level. And Mr. Speaker, allow the committee to do its work. I so thank you on that score.
I identified our senior member, Honorable Kletus Aboka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with the greater respect, I don't intend to arrest your decision or ruling. But I want to leave this chamber with a clear mind. If we are talking about censorship on a minister, in my view, that is captured in Article 82 of the Constitution and Order 108 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. 108. If you look
108.
Yes, 108. If you look at these two, the Constitution, Article 82, and the Standing Orders, Order 108, there's nothing about formation of a committee to resolve this matter. It is in respect of the removal of a speaker under Order 107 that deals with the formation of a committee. So if we have to appoint a committee of this nature, what would be the terms of reference for us to do this work? I will respectfully invite you to revisit Articles 82 and Standing Order 108 and let us know where the authority or the reference to a committee comes from. The mandate, where does it come from? With the greater respect. And what would be the terms of reference?
Honorable Kletus Aboka, a very senior member of Parliament, read Order 106. The short title says, votes of censure and removal. It proceeds to say, 1. The House may pass a resolution to remove the President, the Vice President, Mr. Speaker, and the Deputy Speakers, and a vote of censure on a Minister of State. The House may consider such motion and come to a decision or refer it to a committee on a motion made by any member. Honorable member, I've heard you, I've seen you, I know you. When you talk about the House, the person leading the House is the Speaker. The House itself cannot refer a thing to a committee. It's not done anywhere in the world. It's the Speaker who refers matters to committees. And they used to call the committees the Speaker's Committee. Why? Because the Committee of Selection is chaired by the Speaker. And it is the Speaker that, through the leadership, will compose the committees and bring it to the House for approval. Please, you need to learn and learn fast. Honorable members, again, I repeat, we have set up a committee of 8. The committee will have to report within 7 days. My colleague, Honorable Cletus Avoka, was talking about terms of the committee. Clearly, he himself referred to the Constitution and the standing orders. When you set up committees of parliament and you are referring things to them, what are the terms of the committees? It's the Constitution and the standing orders. So what terms are you talking about? I don't want to debate you on this issue, but I think you are completely out of order. Honorable members, are so direct, and I expect that within 7 days we get a report from the committee, then the House will be properly positioned to conclude the debate on the matter. Then, please, leadership, get your team ready for the final debate. With this, I want to thank all of you for supporting the House to do what I believe is the right thing. This will guide us in the new standing orders to detail out the procedure. And so please, Standing Orders Committee, kindly take note. With this, I'm grateful to all of you.
KOFI Radio, radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad. KOFI Radio, radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad.
Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Speaker, I believe we've exhausted the business for the day, so we can take an adjournment. At this stage, we do not need to move a motion for adjournment.
You are referring to item 9. Item 9.
Mr. Speaker, I believe we can defer it and do it tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Honorable Majority Leader, you have moved for the adjournment.
No, Mr. Speaker, I reminded that it's long past 2 o'clock, so we don't require a formal motion for adjournment. So you can adjourn the House.
Honorable members. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, so we are in your hands. It's just to urge my colleagues to stay in the chamber, members of at my back, the minority. Thank you.
Honorable members, the sense of the House is for us to take an adjournment. Looking at the time, I proceed.
Oh, my Atnasia, Moma Cambrofwa. The Korea is committee say or more and share into assembly hall and more. Committee no chairman AME no KT Hammond and Dominic Anyeni. Members no Ezenato Rollins, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, Bernard Ahiafo. And yes, I ewo Buama Patrick, Ejapa Mensa, and Kwame Ayimedu entry. And I'm almost 7 days, say, Omonfa report. What is na members of parliament ni be training den say be ya. In fact, Bana MP and na also suggest say no, when this a suggestion about Bana MP they no say MPP for no for Baba kon kan. And Sam George say yen no TV so no be anhwe bi. Committee no almost sitting no. But they know the Yakoba and says a committee no etna say na biamtra form yinu no adwen ekoye se yenyi mu obi anhwe bia. Ombema na ye transparent na obia etumi ahwe bi. Definitely gwa koye a debate of Ghana's economy. Eti hwe animu de ebekwa akowie. Sabreya parliament ede almost sitting abawiye. Yemfa sitting we no emre wiye. Yebesanya babio enchekra yabema another update on a different story. But Saupe Solar, Mr. Solar Technology for no air from Italian Solar Technology and Security Service for say. Fra woman no me fix solar emma na say dum so no ahase. Mentwen mani nyina num nwansa. Wo company kase na o de ma wo mo say wo mo fix solar, o be ma wo solar e betumi afa company ni nyina. Menstro kano if say ubetuya 15% down payment. The akano ubetuya within 5 years. Enti to sa anamono na entumi emwa. Ankoba se oho anko chiro some time to come. Ubetumi afre womo na womo ne wedding ko womo number na 054 971 1191 054 971 1191 and 026 195 8692 026 195 8692 ofre woma ombeboa abe fix solar ewo fie and ase we dwuma mu ede amount to say solar na eko Sanso ena obaga na how pefie bi mu atena rent for 2 weeks 3 weeks and now 1 month open short stay oni wabusu yanti muntimi ko high hotel and I say one kasa open some privacy be a security no so you very very good I'm mouse number in a fresh sia wo fie bi nso oga na hana opese omotumi ede ema na omanfo etenemu abrofo iba no mpepa bi atena short stay ni ade a unyina no wetumi afre genuine property management for na womo mausa kwenya no wo fie nso na pese ode ma womo no mo manage ehwe nipa ebetena fie ho ye background checks ni ade a in fact they are into property management in Ghana, in the US and Canada. Into between from 050 832 4820 050 832 4820 and as a number na wo screen as an so ka ho 020 number no between your wedding call mama mfa nsia na yen home somra na yemra medi Agradaa court and they see a home kakra. Have a good afternoon. KOFI Radio sene uti ya watuni na wonyira eda asese wa join ye e wo honso. Timo mo uti ya watuni ni na eda mo ase. Uti ya KOFI Radio so eda wase. But say YouTube nso a say KOFI TV and say KOFI Radio YouTube channel no click it, subscribe button no. Na say Facebook follow page ni sisi say you tune in na click on the love button. Macro.
KOFI Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian abroad. KOFI Radio for the Ghanaian and for the Ghanaian